modifying their aircrafts. So this might look like a normal Learjet to an outsider, but if you look closely, you'll find all this additional antennas and all these things. Its basic job is to keep monitoring our enemy radar signatures and communication links. NTR stands for National Technical Research Organization. Recently, also it was in the news, like they had launched a ship which can track incoming ballistic missiles. Okay, it's a huge addition to the armed forces. In fact, it's not to the armed forces. This NTRO actually works under the Prime Minister's office. Okay, under RAW. But the advertisements for jobs are all listed as NTRO. There is another setup called ARC, okay, the Aviation Research Center. That's again under RAW. Uh, in fact, no one is there from Orissa over here in this class, but there's a place called Charbatia. Okay, and the beauty of that place is they have almost 3/4 of the runway is underground. Okay. And all the hangars and aircrafts are kept underground. Very few are parked outside. They were initially developed by the Americans, and we continue to use it. But the basic job is electronic warfare. Presently, NTRO is basically electronic warfare. So once you complete your degree, be on the lookout for these jobs. Highly lucrative, but a lot of adventurous job and work taking, work joining. They get a lot of perks also. Okay. Just coming to the main subject, you can jam a radar or you can jam a communication link also. If the enemy is transmitting something, you can jam that receiver. Similarly, if he is using a radar to track our aircraft, we can use some jammer to confuse him. There are two types of jamming. One is called cover jamming. Cover jamming means just transmit brute power so that the enemy signals get suppressed. Second one is deceptive jamming, where you cause confusion. Okay, you intend to transmit some signals so that he gets confused. So both cover and deceptive jamming are used. Whenever you're flying across the border, you would like to protect your aircraft. So one way of doing it is self-protection jamming, in which you jam the radar, okay, which is tracking you. But suppose you want really high power, you employ additional aircrafts whose only role is to jam. So that's called standoff jamming. So both has its advantages and disadvantages. Standoff jamming, you are wasting one aircraft. Self-protection jamming, you are losing payload. So either of them is can be used depending on the situation. The simplest form of jamming is dispense something called as chaff. Okay. Small thread-like structures made out of aluminum. Like this particular capsule will contain around a lakh of such small things, structures. Okay, they're made out of aluminum and almost like thin, like hair. Okay. If you want to jam a radar, Sandita, what sort of chaff would you like to dispense it? What sort of properties it should have? See, these are like cloud-like structures. Okay, you just before you enter the enemy territory, you just fire these capsules. Okay, and then it forms a sort of a metallic cloud. So each of these structures, what sort of properties would you like to have? If I want a proper cover for my aircraft. Anyone from the class? It's like a smoke screen, okay? If you want to visualize it. But consists of millions and millions of such small particles.
Sir, electromagnetic shielding.
Yeah, but what should be the property of these? Each thread or each strip. Two important properties. See, this is the radar, okay? And your aircraft is here. You're moving in this direction. You fire some missile or something which will just have these chaffs and then dispense with it. Then you go through it. So this will be the chaff cloud. Simple. You want maximum reflection, okay, from each of these sectors. So this length of this should be lambda by 2. If you know the radar frequency, which that is the job of all the CMTR and all, they will accordingly have these chaps. And if there are multiple radars, then you will have a combination of these chaps. So these are different lambdas, lambda by 2. Getting it? So from antenna theory, we know that maximum reflection will take place at lambda by 2, or the RCS indirectly is going to be very high, radar cross section, if it is lambda by 2. So you cut these chaps in different lengths as per your requirement. And the second property is it should not be heavy. Okay? If it's too heavy and if you're going to disperse this chaff, then the whole cloud will settle down very fast. It will not give you time to move through it. So it defeats the purpose. Okay? So the radar will still detect you. That's why they make it like hair-like structures, so that it just floats in the air for a long time. This was the earliest way in which radars were jammed. In fact, it dates back to World War II. Okay. History tells that Germans also had this technology, but they were reluctant to use it. They thought that British would copy and use it against them. So they never used it in Battle of Britain, though they knew that they are being tracked. But when the Britishers went back, they used the same technology to confuse the German radars. But nowadays there are some techniques by which we can see through the chaff also. On the screen, this is what it looks like. The center of the display, you see one aircraft coming. The moment you dispense these chaffs, so you get multiple targets and it confuses the radar. But nowadays, more than chaff, we use something called as noise jamming, in which we have a noise is almost like a white noise. Okay, white noise means infinite frequencies, theoretically. So they use this noise source amplifier, and in the direction of your radar, the jammer starts transmitting. From the receive power point of view, we know that radar is transmitting and it's receiving back, and it was proportional to 1 by r power 4. This is the radar equation what we see. P received is proportional to 1 by r power 4. But now this noise jamming is a one-way communication. Okay? So it means that it is the received power is again proportional to 1 by r square. So with less power, this fellow will be able to jam you. There is something similar like we are seeing the primary radar and secondary surveillance radar. Okay. So secondary surveillance radar is a one-way communication, so the power required was less. So same way, this jammers can operate at a longer distance. So if you plot range versus the received power, you will find a curve something like this. At some particular range, or ranges less than this, it's called the burn-through range. In this range, the primary radar will be able to see through the jammer. But at larger ranges, the jamming power will be much more. So if you take something like 10 nautical miles or 8 nautical miles, you see the difference in power. So the targets, the jammer will be able to mask the returns effectively after the burn-through range. So how do we jam it? So one is, if you are in a white noise, you try to spread the jamming signal across different frequencies, which means the power is spread across different frequencies. So that is not a very efficient way of doing it. So if you know that radar is operating at these frequencies, you try to jam away slightly a bandwidth slightly more than the radar bandwidth. Okay. So even if this fellow tries to shift, still you are jamming it. So that we have different types of jamming. One is called barrage jamming. This black lines show that jamming power. It's spread all over the spectrum. Okay. So even if there are 4 radars, you jam all 4 radars, but the issue is the power level. The power is going to go down. Whereas swept spot jamming, what you do is for different time slots, you jam the radars individually. So there will be some time gaps when the radars will be able to identify you. But then you are using much higher power at a particular frequency. Another option is multiple spot jamming. So instead of jamming the complete spectrum, you identify the radars and only their bandwidths you try to jam. Okay. If you want to confuse this fellow, what you have to do is you receive this radar signal, then intentionally you delay your response, okay, and then transmit it. So what's going to happen is the time, as you know, in radar corresponds to range, and then you keep changing this variable delay in a very random method. So sweep to sweep, if you see, if the aircraft position is here, it will keep shifting like this. Now this fellow, your radar gets confused because he doesn't know which target to lock on. So that's how you generate false targets. So you know, once you receive a signal from the radar, you know exactly what frequency it is, what is its PRF, pulse width, and all this. So you try to mimic a reply or an echo, but which is actually a false echo. So you confuse this fellow. Normally radars work on range gates. Range gate is nothing but I told you something called as range bins. Okay. So the entire range is like in MTI, I told you, segregate it into different bins. So they have gates for going from one bin to another. So this fellow, what he does is it's called range gate stealer. So initially it will reply with the correct pulse. Okay. So the aircraft will lock onto it. Then you slightly delay your pulses. Okay. And then after some time, your radar will not be able to shift from one gate to another. It will lose track. So this is called gate stealing. You know what is this gate and try to steal it. And after some time, you lose track. The radar will lose track. It's also called range gate pull-off. Another method of confusing the radar is the normal echo is going to come in this direction, line of sight. Let's say a missile is tracking you. You receive this and transmit something on the ground. Okay. Now this fellow will see two targets. One is the actual target and the other one is the virtual target. So if this strength is more and both are coming at two different time periods, it gets confused. So it goes away from the target. Though it depends too much on the ground surface and all, so it's not very popular. A much easier method of doing this is radar decoys. So what they do is they have a tow line. They know that missile has been launched and it's coming towards you. So the missile initially will track the aircraft, but this decoy RCS will be very high, okay, radar cross section compared to the aircraft. So though the aircraft size is bigger, the decoy will have multiple corner reflectors, which will ensure that the RCS increases. So the missile, instead of locking onto the aircraft, will go towards the decoy. This can be a forward deployed decoy, like you launch it from the aircraft with much higher speed. So the decoy goes in front, the aircraft follows later. Okay. Or it can just have a tow line and then you can do it. So that is all on the electronic warfare. Okay. So it's a cat and mouse game. So electronic warfare is to confuse the enemy. But the enemy is not a passive guy, okay? He also has his own technique for overcoming all this electronic countermeasures. It's called ECM. What we have seen is ECM. And electronic counter to counter measure is called ECCM. Okay? You counter the countermeasures. So in that, what you do is you try to keep changing the uh, frequency of your radar. Even the PRFs are changed, pulse widths are changed, all those things. You can try to passively angle track the jammer because it's also a source. The jammer is a source. So if you just switch off your transmitter, only the radar receiver will be on. You keep scanning the place and then definitely the jammer, if it doesn't know that you are switched off, will keep on transmitting. So you are actually getting the angle information from the jammer. So frequency agility, this is how it will look like. Okay. You change the frequency from pulse to pulse, at least the short range targets will be able to identify. After that, the jammer will also come to know that you have changed your frequency, then he will start generating. And this is what I told you, like passively scan the area. So this jammer will appear like a strobe because he is doing all this variable delay jamming. So it will look as if one complete line is a target. But you will come to know what angle is coming. And if you are having three radars, you can definitely triangulate and try to get the approximate fix of the jammer. The other thing is we have seen how to reduce side load. This we saw in again secondary surveillance radars. So you don't want the jammer to come through these side lobes. So the same side lobe blanking what was used in secondary surveillance radar, same technique is used. Then you can even have a fast acting AGC, automatic gain control, so that your scope is not cluttered. There is a side lobe blanking which I was talking about. Okay. Another technique is if this fellow is doing this range gate stealing, what you do is you differentiate a pulse. When you differentiate a pulse, this is say approximately a pulse, okay, given by the jammer. So what you have to do is, all you have to do is if you differentiate it, so you're going to get a spike like this. So this, now instead of tracking this complete pulse, you track this fellow. So you will at least come to know which is the rising edge and which is the leading edge, trailing edge. So, so that's how the difference we can counter the range gate stealers. In terrain bouncing is not a very useful thing. Okay, the whole thing, this electronic ECM and ECCM, or you can put it like this: electronic warfare has three major components. First one is electronic countermeasures. You are trying to confuse the enemy. And the ECCM is the enemy tries to overcome this jamming, but both these guys require the third important thing that is called ELINT. ELINT is electronic intelligence. That's where these spy agencies come in, play a very important role. Okay. So now they keep tracking, all these things, what is happening across the border. It's called EOB, or electronic order of battle, okay, where it becomes a support information, and then they give data to the which are the radar warning receivers. Okay, so they what are the probable radars the enemy is having? So all that details is captured by this alien guns. So when you talk about this NTRO aircraft, that's what it's doing basically. It's an alien operation. Apart from that, we also have a lot of ground-based units whose primary job is to gather this information. So they keep monitoring the spectrum. So if you see these guys, what is it? They become psychic up something. So the job is so strenuous to keep looking at the complete film and try to pick up whatever small information is coming in. Very tedious job for at least the ground-based people. So alien aircrafts will look like this. So you will have a lot of antennas on them. Primary job is just fly lazy circles near the border, keep trying to pick up whatever is coming out during peace time, so that when actually the hostilities break out, we can use it. That's a very small introduction on electronic warfare. Quite an interesting subject, but so if you get through such organizations, it will be nice. It will be quite adventurous. I'm not going into too much of details of it. I'll upload those slides on your AUMS. And whatever is not been uploaded, all those things I'll. Okay. Anything you want to ask me? Any idea on this Vani? Is again not attending the classes. I think he was in touch with Raj. No? Raj, is he speaking to you nowadays? Raj, can you hear me? Okay, anyway, Priya, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just try to inform this guy that he has to attend the quiz on Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so quiz will be for both module 1 and module 2. 20 minutes each with a break of 10 minutes in between on AMS. Okay, Priya. So we'll meet on
Okay, sir.
Wednesday with the. You can log in to AMS directly. Okay, you will not have to come to the Teams. But there will